We are in Oak Brook, Illinois, which is about 20 miles west of downtown Chicago, straight west, and we are looking for the jockey that worked for George Jayne, Cheryl Lynn Rude, and we are at the Bronswood Cemetery, very small cemetery here. And I don't know if there's an office or anything. It's going to be potluck if we can find her, but we're in. This is a grave of Elisa Marie Santoro. And she was murdered by her ex-boyfriend. Very sad story. She dated him for 5 months. Her father said he didn't dislike him, but he didn't really like him. He was an outsider, and well, she decided to finally move on, and he wasn't really in her group of friends. So yeah, she moved on and told him that she wanted to break up. And he was kind of a quiet guy, and it seemed like everything was okay, but I guess he went ballistic, and he had told friends that he was going to beat up the next guy that he saw. And it turned out he actually beat up a complete stranger. So long and short of it is, she was dating another boy, and when he found out, he said, you know, I just want to meet and just exchange some things that we have of each other. And it sounded like a closure thing, and she made the mistake of going alone with him, and she never came back. Well, I think I don't know how he killed her, but he killed her. He ended up getting a plea bargain for 75 years, and just such a waste. So Lisa Marie, hope you are resting in peace. Only the Good Die Young. Lewis Randolph, 1959, 2014. Lewis. We've got a man who loved the sky. It's a pilot like me. Robert N. was born in 1925, and he died in 82. It's funny, I look at these dates and I think about, where was I, or 1982, that's the year after I got out of college, so that's a while ago. And his co-pilot wife, a picture of when she was young, I like that. Her name was Alpha D, Alpha. And co-pilot, she died many years later. I wonder if she remarried, or... Interesting. Hope you're resting in peace, guys. Right now, looking for the grave of Cheryl Lynn Rude. And Cullen. Cheryl was the jockey rider that rode. She was a champion rider. She rode for the Tricolor Stables. George Jayne, she worked for George Jayne. And she's the one that accidentally, well, he asked her to move his Cadillac, and there was a bomb, a 3/6 of dynamite hooked up to the ignition. And sadly, it was meant for George Jayne. That was talked about previously, and she was killed. And big mistake. The guy was eventually caught. We talked about that years later. And there's a tie-in to, of course, Silas Jayne was the mastermind behind it, but there's also a tie-in to other murders. There's 3 other women that a year later that were known to her, also riders at Tricolor, and they disappeared. We'll talk a little bit about that. I know it's around here somewhere. Let's see. I know it's around here somewhere. We're close. Ah, Rude. Here we go. Her father, Fred, 1902 to 1979. Her mom, Martha, who died in 72, 7 years after Cherie. Here's Cherie. Cherie Rude, 1942 to 1965. Yep. And the fateful day in 1965 was when that bomb went off. I wanted to quote her mother, who, when reporters asked her at the trial of the man that set the bomb, and by the way, the 3 women that were killed a year later that knew Cherie, they were afraid that they may have witnessed him putting the bomb in the car at the stables. Her mom, Martha, said she had trouble accepting her daughter's death. She said she was an accomplished jumper, I'm going to quote, accomplished jumper and fearless rider. She'd been severely injured months before her death when a horse fell on her, breaking her ribs and collapsing her lungs. Although she nearly died, the fall didn't lessen her drive to compete in the thrilling but dangerous jumping competitions. She said Cherie was 1 in a million. She wasn't afraid of anything. So the women, and we'll talk about this, that Cherie knew, that all disappeared a year later, and they were together. Their name was, one woman was Renee Bruhl, Patricia Blough, and Ann Miller. And they went to the Indiana Dunes Park in the State Park in Indiana, which is just southeast of Chicago. And basically, a normal thing, 3 girls parked her, I think it was a Pontiac. Yeah, 100 yards from the beach. They went and they left their things on the beach. And of course, piecing things together afterwards, they said that they were picked up by a guy in a boat, and they described the boat as it was an outboard motor, 16 to 18 feet. And all 3 of the girls got in, and then, I guess an hour or 2 later, a bigger boat came. And I think they went out in that boat, and then they came back, and then there were 3 men in that boat, maybe with the same guy. And they all got in. It was called a Trojan Tri-Hull. It was a cabin cruiser. Anyway, the 3 girls got in the cabin cruiser, and that's the last anyone ever saw them. And piecing things back, and their things, the towel, their even their little purses, all their personal effects were left on the beach. And they were reported that evening. There was a couple that saw their stuff, saw them during the day, and did not see them. And their stuff was just left there. So they reported to the ranger. And the long and the short of it is they, you know, they did an investigation, and they caught this guy, or that's what it was. There was a guy, you know, when the news got out, that said, hey, I've got a lot of footage from that day on my 8mm, maybe it was 16, Super 8, probably Super 8 film. Anyway, he said, I'll let you, you know, just basically gave it all to the police, and they went through it with a fine-tooth comb, and lo and behold, they verified that it was that information. And one of the guys was recognized. His name was, I cannot remember his name, but I'll attach, I'll put it right here. And they got him in, but you know, there was just not enough evidence, and presumably they're at the bottom of the lake. If they did witness him and they were afraid of that, then, you know, it just ties right back into Silas. It's just another murder that, you know, they did. So pretty sad. We'll definitely we'll never know the answer to that one. But Cherie sure didn't deserve what happened to her. She had her whole life ahead of her, and it's just another tragic story, a waste. Well, Cherie, hope you're resting in peace. Hope you're in a better place. I thought this was interesting. No names, nothing, which tells you that the people haven't died yet, but they've got it all ready to go. You don't see that too often. Well, that's being prepared. This is the smallest mausoleum that I think I've ever seen. Interesting. Ripley. I don't know if there's anybody in here. There couldn't be. Oh, wait. Now, it looks like, you probably can't see this, but there are 3 drawers, tiny, but they're like, they have crypt, the outer, whatever you call it, the part that covers with the, it looks like there's like 3, I don't know, would it be 3 babies? Oh, E.P. Ripley. From speech on the 17th. So born October 30th, 1845, and he died in 1920. I wonder what this is about. Well, I will obviously research this and put in the final production here who E.P. Ripley was. E.P. Ripley stood for Edward Payson Ripley, and Edward was born in Dorchester, Massachusetts. Comes from a very long line of blacksmiths all the way back to the colonial times, and he got his start actually with the Santa Fe Railroad as a clerk, worked his way all the way up, and when the scandal hit and they went into bankruptcy, he took over as president, and he really turned things around all the way to 1920. So he did some fantastic things, and he was a good guy. Okay, so you know what? I don't think it's remains, because you would have the air vent, of course, that is required anytime you have body decomposition, gases, all of that. It's kind of the more unsavory part of this whole business, but it's real. And I don't see any, maybe there's some artifacts in there. Maybe it's his speech. I'll see what I can find out on this. I'll go back to the chapel office, see if they know what's going on. Krazowski, Janice E., loving wife, mom, and grandma. She died in 16, 5 years ago. And Jayne, her husband, he was born in 1931. He is still alive. And I'm guessing that's who's caretaking. There's a lot of stuff here, a lot of love. And he would be 90. If I'm doing my math right. There's a note here. Happy birthday, Mom. I miss you. Love you to the moon. Love you to the moon and back. That's probably something that was said to Mom. Beautiful lady. Janice, hopefully she's resting in peace. Chelsea McKay Yeager, she died in 2017, born in 82. She died young. She was a mom. Here's a note from the child, or the children, probably two children. So sad. These notes are definitely written by very young children. Oh, that's a heartbreaker.